Well, greetings, everybody. This is Mike Rochelle at the Association for Information Technology Professionals. I'm joined tonight by our special guest, Vineet Rao, Joe Vaughn, Harish
Mike, I
Rajagopal.
hear. Sorry. I'm good. Hearing two voices. That's the reason. Please go ahead.
I don't know why. If somebody has a microphone on twice, you might want to turn it off. So
No, I'm
anyway,
good now. I'm good now. I figured it out. Sorry.
it's okay. Thanks, everybody, for being here tonight. I'm joined by Vineet Rao, our special guest, Joe Vaughn, Harish Rajagopalan, Shankar, and Akshay and Brian. Guys, how are you doing tonight?
Doing great, Mike.
Fantastic.
Good. So just a quick topic. How is the economy doing in your neck of the woods, Vineet?
It is a roller coaster, if I can say that. A lot of uncertainty right now, but I believe we are poised to weather that, at least in the short term.
Absolutely. And Joe, in the financial markets, it's kind of the same, a little of the same, right? From day to day, it depends on what's going on.
Yeah, very much so. Still very soft. I think a lot of wait and see on implications from the tariffs and some of these trade negotiations that are ongoing. Do see lots of companies sort of resizing, right-sizing their workforces. I think in preparation for what will probably be a very big 2026.
Absolutely. Harish, how about you? What are you seeing? I know you're on your way to Houston right now.
So I'm focusing on retail consumer goods, right? So I echo with Vineet, but I also see as an opportunity because just about coming out of the COVID, we had a floodgate open for SIs like us, versus now it's more like CIOs are looking at, okay, how I can reduce cost takeout and all of that. So which is also an opportunity. Consolidation and all of that is happening across the retail consumer goods portfolio. So there is challenge in terms of short term, but also there are quite a bit of opportunities as well for system integrators like us. So it's a mixed reaction, I would say, Mike.
Sure. And Shankar, you're in a new industry. So what are you seeing in the place that you are, and where are you?
Sure. Mine as well. I'm also in retail, so TJX. So that's again part of retail. But my view on the current market condition is very aligned with what Joe mentioned. Like from 2024, things are getting better, is what I felt, and then 2026 is waiting. But with the political changes and things with like social geographical changes, like that's impacting much now, but I feel that's also recovering from last 3 months. So it's getting to a better shape is what I felt.
Very good. And then Akshay, what about you? What are you seeing? Are you able to speak?
Yeah, I can speak that much. Probably I agree to what Vineet, Joe, Harish, and Shankar mentioned. I think there are some sectors, because I just don't focus on retail. I focus on other verticals too. So I'm seeing people are still talking about how to spend the money. Some customers, they do have the money they want to spend, but because of the political situation right now, because of the tariffs and all things are happening, they're just being cautious and sitting on the money they want to spend. So probably I agree, 2026 should be pretty good for everybody.
Yeah, I would say so. I talked to somebody from Los Angeles who has a import-driven business, and their $175,000 shipment ended up costing them $400,000 for the exact same batteries and bike parts that they were getting before. So it's a pretty interesting dynamic. Now, maybe that has changed since about Tuesday or whatever the day was. I don't know, but that's a major hit when you're more than doubling your cost. in a margin-driven business. But
Yeah, like
go ahead, Akshay.
and like with the Walmart announcement coming like yesterday and this morning, they're going to be like seeing some price ramp ups like happening during the end of May. That's going to like scare a lot of people because if Walmart is increasing pricing, there's something definitely going wrong.
Yeah. Well, I think there are a lot of people that are looking for Walmart to go back to the Sam Walton days, where it was born in the USA, and there were a lot of things that were made, and that was kind of their whole idea back then. So it'll be interesting to see what Walmart does long term. Brian, it's actually fitting that you go last, because you actually had an interesting trip last week and had some industries that were actually booming and beyond, which was the first sector that I heard. So what was that, and where were you?
Yeah, I was up in Oklahoma and visited a company called Ditch Witch, which provides a lot of the equipment for digging and around the country, and they were and it was a great visit because they walked me through their whole plant facility, where they're growing by leaps and bounds. They can't build and expand fast enough, and they said they're not impacted by the tariffs because they do everything in the USA. So and they're growing so fast they can't expand, and they think it'll be 2 more years for them to catch up. And so they're very excited. The construction business, which they supply, they said is still growing very strong. Obviously the housing still grow. Still in a growing market. Buildings, they're still building, at least here in Flower Mound. I mean, they're building everywhere, right? So, and so they don't see any kind of slowdown. So I thought that was pretty interesting, and it was really exciting seeing that activity. And you were talking about Walmart, by the way, because after I met in Oklahoma, I went to Arkansas for an SAP conference at the new Walmart facility. And you're right. In that museum, they talk a lot about, in the museum, the Walmart museum, talk about their initial early days of made in America, made in USA. So that was definitely a priority for them, and for Sam Walton, by the way, a fascinating gentleman, and seeing his story in the museum was really, really neat. By the way, I'll just tell you real quick, in the museum, they rolled out a brand new hologram of Sam Walton using AI technology. He can answer up to about 300 questions, and you can interact with him and ask questions, and it's fascinating. It's really, really cool stuff. And you can talk to him about his pickup truck, which is, by the way, in the museum. He drove it to the day he died. Still has the original dents and dings and trim missing and everything. It was really, really fascinating stuff.
That's awesome. So it's interesting. And Vineet, the reason I wanted to kind of introduce that topic is because things are going to get better, right? There's no way that it's going to stay as insulated and as I think the term is held back as it has been. And a lot of economists have been saying for some time that 26 is probably the year that it really starts cranking up. However, anything that has anything to do with AI seems to get lots of attention, right? So AI, construction, there are some industries, and it'll be interesting if anybody in the audience has other industries that are cranking. Those might be places to focus for those of us who are looking to provide services.
Yeah, Mike, one other note, just real quick. So next week is the annual SAP conference in Orlando, where there's usually 30,000 attendees, and
sure.
We'll be there as well. And I think I looked at the sessions, and about 40%, 40 to 50% of the sessions are about AI. So, so it was definitely, it's going to be a lot of AI discussions and talk next week at the Orlando conference.
Absolutely. The interesting thing too, that AI companies have a better multiplier. So if you're thinking about starting a company, AI multipliers, I've seen anywhere from 10 to 25 times revenue versus 3.5 for services versus 1 for just regular work. So
Yeah,
anyway, interesting times.
it
And
is.
Vineet, perhaps that's part of your story because you've seen both the booms and the busts over your career a couple of times, I'm sure. And we'll look forward to that. So let's do a little bit of introduction to the chapter. I'm going to ask Joe to talk a little bit about what a member gets if they walk in and join AITP Lone Star.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is you get lots of access to lots of technology and business professionals across the DFW area, and you get a broad mix of experience levels. So for those who are maybe earlier in their career and who aspire to be leaders and executives, it's many great sort of professional networking opportunities and connectivity to others in the organization. We'll hear from Vineet tonight. He's been around a while and is a great example of the type of leadership that anybody can have a chance to talk to about what's going on. We have, with your membership, you get access to Elevate IT, which is about 8,000 different online trainings and opportunities just to improve soft skills and or hard skills. And then the third thing I would call out is the discounts and privileges, discounts in training or discounts from our sponsors when they're sponsoring events or activities. All great things. We do the online chapter meeting generally monthly, but what I find even more helpful and enjoyable are the networking events where we meet out at restaurants or bars or other places like Mike's Fire Pit last month. It's just a great opportunity to kind of socialize and connect and hear what's going on in other people's worlds. Gives you perspective.
Absolutely. All right. So one of those benefits, we're actually in beta testing with our AITP Work Ready Academy. So if you in the audience take a picture of this QR code, you'll be able to access about 8,000 courses at the Work Ready Academy, which is provided by our sponsor, our title sponsor for the year, AdvancedNet Labs. They've been doing this for over a decade. And it's an extraordinary offer. There are 8,000 courses, and over time, we'll start putting in certifications and things like that. For some of them, they'll be free, and other ones, they'll be discounted. We are currently rebuilding our membership worksite. Shankar is responsible for that. We're not going to talk about that tonight because there's not a lot to talk about that we all know about yet. But by September, we'll have that thing running, probably already up in beta next month or so. So anyway, Work Ready Academy is one of the great benefits that you get. It is my privilege to introduce Vineet Rao. He is a seasoned technology transformation leader, driving business growth and efficiency through strategic technology adoption and process optimization. As head of technology at Magnolia, that little company that is rebuilding Waco, he is leading e-commerce transformation with the data-driven approach. Previously, as VP of Enterprise Systems at Abercrombie & Fitch, he played a key role in the $130 million ERP transformation, optimizing vendor contracts and managing a global team. At SRP, he spearheaded a rapid cloud migration, saving over $1 million in just 3 months. And as CIO at Sodexo Benefits and Rewards, he launched new products and ERP systems on accelerated timelines. With expertise in enterprise technology, data strategy, high-performance teams, M&A due diligence, and contract negotiations, Vineet has delivered impactful results across retail, transportation, HR tech, and financial services. He holds an executive education from Wharton and a bachelor's in computer science from Bangalore University. Vineet currently resides in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Outside of work, the family enjoys hiking, traveling to new places, and exploring new experiences. So Vineet, it's my privilege to have you come and join us today. Are you here in Dallas or are you in Waco as I transition to your slides?
It's a great question. I actually came home this afternoon just to see my son receive an award for a business presentation they did, and they went international. So I drove down from Waco. So I'm actually very thrilled and pleased that he's also choosing to focus on business for his future.
Awesome. Very good. Well, we're going to go back into the green room, let you take center stage, and we'll be back in just a minute.
All right. Thank you very much, Mike. Actually, when you were reading out all that, I'm like, oh my God, that's a little too much. Mike, just keep me humble and straight. But for everybody, thank you so much for being here, for listening to me talk about transformation over the next few minutes here. When Mike came to me and asked, hey, let's start talking about some things that have the ability to change, fundamentally change what businesses do and how we can leverage technology with that. And him and I were going back and forth, and we just had to look back in our own careers and our lives to see what is it that has caused us to be here. And that the only word that kept coming up was change, and change at a pace that was probably, when you think back to see that, oh my God, did that really happen? Did this happen? And what was the impact that created? When we started measuring from an impact perspective, it really sounded transformative. So that brought us to the topic for the day. And honestly, I'm not really here to prescribe what strategies for success of any transformation should look like. I'm pretty sure all of you have gone through similar transformation exercises wherever you have been, your place of work, your own families, just life in general. Everyone's got their journey. All I'm here to do is to share some of my experiences and see if it resonates with you. And in the process, could I also learn a thing or two? At the very outside, I must also apologize. A bit of an allergy situation, so I might cough a little bit, and I do beg for forgiveness at the very beginning. So, as often happens, every few years, we come across trends that pervade the technology landscape. And we were talking about AI a few minutes earlier. AI is everywhere. It's the latest. But I'm not here to talk about AI at all. So I'll thankfully spare that to you all for all of your other seminars or the conferences that you all go to. But if you look at it, the one static and pervasive topic that's been there over the last several years is transformation. And many flavors have evolved, right? People start talking about technology transformation. People talk about digital transformation. People even talk about business transformation. And there are many such flavors of what transformation could mean. So that kind of set me thinking of the word transformation itself and as it is intended to be. So with the help of Google, well, the search engine, not the company, I looked for some standard definition, and here's a few that I found. So when I'm starting to think about transformation, so if you look at it, there's a couple that says like Oxford Dictionary or the Cambridge Dictionary, they look at it as more as a complete change in the appearance of something. But the one that really stuck with me was what the Merriam-Webster Dictionary defined it to be a change in the composition or structure, to change the outward form or appearance of, or to change in the character or condition. So that really, if you think about it, it doesn't matter how big or small the change is. It is not even talking about the result it yields. And we'll talk about this in just a little bit, right? So for the purposes of today's discussion, let's call it all digital transformation, and let's keep it that way. So, there's not a single company that isn't doing any sort of transformation. I would say not just a company, but if you're leading any initiative within your company, however big or small, whatever level it is at, the scale may be different, but we are all doing some sort of transformation. What does that really mean? Right? It really means that it is no longer a luxury. It's no longer a large company standing up there and so we need to fundamentally change the way we do our business. We need to fundamentally change the way we use technology. Nothing of that, but it has become a necessity, right? It is really, really about changing the mindset. It is not a technology-only transformation initiative. It is not a standalone initiative for technology at all. It is really embracing those effective processes and then changing the culture to stay competitive. So What is digital transformation? It really refers to the strategic integration of all the different types of digital technologies that are available into all areas of a business or an organization, which then results in a fundamental change on how the business itself operates, and it starts delivering value to the customers and employees and also stakeholders. So it's just not about adopting new tools or software. It is really about rethinking the business models, the workflows, the customer experiences, so you can take the full advantage of digital innovation. However, at the back end of all of this is truly all the things that make up digital technologies. Now, we've talked about cloud computing. We have seen automation getting in. AI, again, I'm not going to stick to AI. So IoT was there for a few times, but today it's become table stakes, right? So it's all over. So it doesn't matter, in my mind, it doesn't matter whether you're using 1, 2, 3, all of it, or a combination of it. There's always something that you're looking to integrate the digital technology into all the business areas. Excuse me. So it could be, maybe it is just like, I come mostly from the retail background, so maybe I'm looking at optimizing my supply chain. Maybe that's what it is, right? Or maybe it's the operations part of it. If you're in the manufacturing industry, maybe you're looking at seeing how best we can optimize our parts, get the parts in time, and be able to deliver on them. So the key drivers that I've seen is really, it starts by changing your customers' expectations, right? The customers become very demanding today, right? I put myself in the shoe of a customer. I'm a customer myself, right? So what is it that I expect of businesses when I walk into a store? What do I expect when I'm dealing with a vendor? What is it that I'm looking for when dealing with a supplier, right? All of these. So when the customers' expectations are themselves changing, it puts a lot of onus on the businesses to also change the way they deliver their service or product to the customer. What helps them? Technology advancements. Again, right? AI, right? It's there. Today, companies that do not adopt to AI fast enough are the companies that feel a lot of pressure from multiple sources, and they are forced to do something, a little thing at least, to start showing the value of AI that they're using. Competition. What is the competition doing to you? Are they leapfrogging you? Are you lagging behind them? Are you at risk to getting wiped out, right? So look at a few recent examples. For example, JCPenney, once the stalwart of retail and how to bring retail and give that unique, unified experience within one roof, within a store, basically creating the sub-stores. Where is that today? What happened? Right? Most recently, Forever 21. What happened to Forever? Right? So we can start to think about it. What happened over there? Was it because they didn't adapt? They didn't really move to transforming the fundamental ways of doing business? Did they not take on the necessary technology advancements? Did they not listen to the customers or what they were looking at? When you look at how you serve your customers, operational efficiency becomes another driver. How do we do? How do we serve our customers? Who are our customers? How do we serve them? What kind of products are we bringing out to them? And then finally, everything is about data. We look at data-driven decisions. We feel like data is fairly recent. We've been talking about this for a while. Honestly, no, right from the get-go, even when the first person who actually sold something or bartered something always relied on data, because he or she was really following the behavioral patterns of what people are doing. What are they asking? What are they troubled by? Can I actually find a solution to a problem, or can I create a problem that I have a solution for? Right. So these things have always existed. So broadly put, if you look at it, I'm thinking of the many drivers that there could be. These are the 5 that stood out to me when I was thinking about it. However, very clearly there are barriers, right? Usually it starts with the resistance to change. And we've all seen this. It happens in every company. It happens even within our own circle of maybe friends, right? Even a small company feels the resistance to change, and it's human nature, and it's okay, right? A lot of us who come from the technology background have also been carrying a lot of technical debt because of legacy systems, because of processes and things that were really not put in place, or which worked for the time but is no longer relevant on what to do. Some of it is also lack of skills. Have we put in enough value in upskilling our folks? Have we ourselves upskilled ourselves? Can we get to a point where we are trying to keep up with the trends and making sure that the people who are being called upon to deliver have actually developed those skills? Change management is another thing that we continuously talk about. Without good process in place, without having the visibility into what change really looks like and managing that change, communicating that change, educating and empowering people to embrace that change, we can't really move forward. Or you can move forward, but I think it's also going to create a lot of chaos and pieces that would be just left behind. And not having a clear vision. That is another major barrier to transformation. So what really do I mean by starting with a clear vision, right? It really has to be compelling and it has to align with what you want to do. But the most important thing is the why behind all of it. Why are you in business? What are your customers demanding from you? And how are you serving your customers? And I use this in the context of retail, but if you really think about it, retail or not, every one of us is always serving somebody. It could be your internal customers, it could be your external customers, it could be a B2B, it could be a B2C, it could be the unknown stranger who we are trying to do a DTC on. So how are we actually getting to that? Some of the other questions that really I keep asking myself is, what are we really trying to accomplish over here? Has business growth stalled? Has it regressed? Is it losing market share? Are there new entrants who are pushing us towards irrelevance? So when you start to think about it, then you start to look at what is the right strategy to come to. You've got to answer a series of questions, I'm sure, which is very applicable to your particular industry, your particular organization that you're trying to serve, right? But while all of these are a few sample questions, there's a lot that needs to go in. First, answer the questions about the why. Why are you in this? Why are you trying to do this? Why trying to bring about change? Why are you trying to change yourself? All of these questions are the ones that are really going to help us get down to the micro level of applying a strategy. So another strategy that I'm looking at is building cross-functional teams. Previously, we all thought that if we are talking about a technology transformation or digital transformation, just hand it off to the tech team, just hand it off to the IT team. They're the ones who are going to bring this all together. Not true, not true. Unless we all come together towards the same goal, whether it's marketing, whether it's operations, whether you're talking about finance, HR, all of these people have to come and collaborate together to be able to now say, we are all in it together, right? And this cross-team collaboration has become more important now than ever, right? And this is also key for those of us in technology. We know this. We know that there is always a shadow IT situation, right? We don't know who's buying what. We don't know who's going to be sourcing something without the knowledge of technology. And at the end of it, it becomes a technology problem. So like I would call it, hey, let's share the pain. Let's share the pain of transformation. Excuse me. The third thing that I looked at is really investing in and using the right technology. Let's be honest, right? Any person who's entered an organization who's trying to gather all the information that you have, some of the things that we all face, very rarely do we face that we have a greenfield situation, but most of the time we are inheriting something from some time. It could be most recent, it could be a long time ago, which then we start looking to streamline the number of platforms we have. But the main question is, what does growth look like for our organization? This is what enables transformation. And those who think that transformation can only be done by technology, I don't disagree, but I think I would caution them that the key is the right use of technology. Sometimes we buy things for the sake of buying it, right? Sometimes we think that the newest and the coolest and the sexiest thing that's out there is the one that is going to solve our business problems. But we don't realize, what is the business really asking for? what is the need of the hour. A workable solution that will sustain the business in the short term or the long term, or something that is a hotshot technology, but that is so raw that it is unproven, and which is probably going to end up creating more tech debt than providing a solution for our business. So does speed matter, right? There's always going to be areas where the use of innovative technology will make coding easy, and maybe one must explore those, but not at the cost of rewriting entire swaths of logic that will continue to work great no matter what. So ultimately, choosing and using the right technology and using the technology right is very important when we start thinking about what leads to a successful transformation. Nothing can be done without people, even in this hyper phase of AI, right? People are the primary drivers of transformation. That's my opinion. That's what I believe. I've always felt that it's the hearts and minds of the people that lead to a desired transformation. People lead people, people develop technology, people deliver solutions. And as leaders, it is incumbent upon us to identify the right roles needed for such transformation, then find the right talent, match the right person with the right talent to the right role, and then empower them and step out of the way. Only stepping in when there are roadblocks or helping understand how we're doing in the journey. We must also, excuse me, I'm really sorry about this cough. We must also constantly evaluate what motivates the people we have assembled to deliver those transformational objectives. Steve Jobs said, I may be paraphrasing this, but it stuck with me for a long time. It doesn't make sense to hire smart people and then tell them what to do. We hire smart people so they tell us what to do. And leadership needs to believe in this. And we need to listen to the people who will conduct the work and give them the direction, empower them, and step back and see what magic they can deliver. How nimble can we be? How fast can we be in delivering or achieving transformation? Should process evolve organically, or should industry best practices be adopted? And my opinion is that it depends on the type of transformation that is taking place and what stage it is in. Are we fundamentally changing the business? Are we looking at technology and technology only that enables it? Or are we scaling? Or in some cases, maybe we're scaling down, not scaling up, right? Are we in the beginning stage of the transformation? Are we in the later stages? Or are we being innovative or experimental in our approach? But we need to establish a process. And once we establish that baseline process, then you look at the best practices that come along with it. Whatever we do and whatever process we go after, whatever methodologies we go after, we have to ensure that process must not impede progress. It's something that I'm very passionate about, right? Process and progress process cannot come in the way of progress. That's what I look at. So, having said that, everything is about speed. So you'll either leapfrog, you'll catch up, or be left behind, unless you cannot deliver continuously. Which we can talk about CI/CD, we can talk about DevOps and all the stuff, but ultimately, the way I look at it is, what am I delivering? I'm delivering an MVP that is also an MVP. And that might sound a little ridiculous, but this is what I mean by that. I'm delivering a minimum viable product that is also the most valuable product. If it's that teeny tiny gear that makes the entire machinery move forward, then I'm going to focus on the teeny tiny gear so it can make the machinery move forward. Minimum viable product, but maximum or most valuable product that's getting delivered. So finally, I look at data as the base of everything, right? And we just talked about an example where I talked about in the early man that started off by thinking, I could maybe go do some trade, relied upon data. Except in today's world, We have data that is more organized, it is more structured, and it has gotten sophisticated. And with tools that can sit on top of such vast amounts of data, why not leverage them to make our decisions? And now is when I would say use AI, but use AI so you can use the AI to present to you recommendations, but insert a human in the loop to make those decisions. Not thinking that, hey, let me ask a question, press a button, sit back, and it's going to tell me exactly what to do. I think that's where we're going to lose out. It's not mature yet. Doesn't mean that it won't get mature over the next few years. It will. However, a human in the loop is extremely important. So when I looked at those 6 strategies, that those are mine, right? So those are things that I said, okay, maybe this is what works. Looking at what I've done in the past, some people may have more, some people may have less, and I'm really curious to learn more about those. But then looking at what were some of the examples that really led to transformation being talked about as transformation. And some of the examples over here really, these are big companies, right? Large companies doing it. But if you don't look at what the big companies did, it'll be very hard for us to even take note of what smaller companies can do. Maybe we can rely on a couple of aspects of what the big companies did in order to bring about massive transformation. Netflix is the biggest example, I think, out there. Completely wiped out an entire industry and went streaming to the point where today everybody's trying to catch up, right? Disney, Amazon Prime, you talk about Paramount, any of these people are trying to catch up, but Netflix has such a stranglehold on this one. They didn't start out thinking we need to be revolutionizing the entertainment industry by getting into streaming. They started at a totally different place, started small and built upon it, saw an opportunity and latched onto it, right? So was Nike. Nike, we all think it's a shoe company, it creates shoes and apparel and whatnot. Most recently, for the last several years, they have actually adopted analytics to drive business. And that includes even personalizing to an extent, which is unbelievable for how much that can actually lead to growth in business. Domino's, you guys have heard, if you've seen their ads, probably a few months ago, maybe sometime in 2024, 2023, where they started touting themselves as a tech company, not a pizza company. And that's the mind shift, right? We talked about the mindsets early on. So on, like I can go on, but these are some of the things that I'm sure you all have thought about and talked about. So ultimately, what you got to look beyond the tech adoption pieces, right? You really cannot manage what you cannot measure. Metrics are very important. So I would say we need to set benchmarks and goals, build up KPIs against those, and use the outcomes to measure those as a means to success. That's the only way to measure success. Data again, right? So in conclusion, I would say, like I said, right? So this is a journey. This is not let's push a button, see what comes out, and we're done, right? These strategies are broadly really based on my experiences. I actually often ask myself these questions when we think about transformation. Remember at the beginning, we talked about transformation brings about bringing about change. We didn't talk about complete change. We talked about change. We also said we don't know what the size of that change could look like. So I started asking myself, how transformational was the Industrial Revolution? Did the 2 world wars truly lead to transformation? How much did the world change with the advent of the internet? Will AI transform our lives? And a baby speaking its first words, is that transformational for the baby itself? So my goal was really not to enforce my opinions, but just open the mind to the various types of transformations there could be. For some, even a small step is a big transformation, while for some, even the biggest accomplishments will pale in comparison to what's happening in the world today. And it is in this context that transformation needs to be investigated. It is not the size of the transformation, but the size of the results it yields. if the desired outcome was met or even exceeded, was that transformational in and of itself? So thank you for listening to my monologue, and thank you for bearing with my cough. But let's open up for questions.
Absolutely. So, Vineet, thank you very, very much for an excellent presentation. I know that I think just about everybody has had a little bit of a cough. A couple of the guys aren't on camera because they're probably coughing right now. So it's kind of in the air here in northern and southern Texas this week.
Yeah, I saw the orange alert all around, so I'm pretty sure it's caught up with me.
Yeah, for me, it didn't bother my cough. My eyes were running yesterday, so whatever it is, there's something out there. So thanks very much for a fascinating conversation through transformation from your perspective, which I think is very powerful. So thanks for the thoughtfulness that you provided for it. I'm going to start off the questions with one that's a little off the wall. I was going to ask you something specifically about Chip and Joanne, but I won't do that just to save you the embarrassment. How fun is it to work in Waco with the Magnolia crew? Let's just put it at that point.
That's a great question. Again, I think at the very beginning too, you did mention what they have done to Waco itself. Isn't that transformation, Mike? Isn't that transformation?
Absolutely.
Right? It is unbelievable that this teeny tiny small town on the way to Austin is on the map today. Yes, I'll give equal credit to Baylor. I'll also give equal credit to Dr. Pepper Museum.
Yeah.
Visited that. But then to change the look of Waco, the way they have done it is not from, it is our business and it's our name. They have taken small businesses in and around Waco along the journey with them. And Absolutely. They do not hesitate to give credit to them in whatever they do. Right? Absolutely. They transform that. So they've transformed the heart of it. What you actually then see is that same thing within our workspace too. Everybody is out there to bring about meaningful moments for people in their lives. And that's our motto, right? Making spaces for meaningful moments at home and in life, right? So and you see that culture, you can see, you walk into the office, you see everybody really projecting that on you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so my son was in Waco for 4 years at Baylor. And for that entire time until the last visit, when he graduated, we could not get into the restaurant because we weren't willing to wait for 3 hours or whatever the line was at that time. It took it 4 years to kind of cool off a little bit. And that's probably only because, to your point, there are probably 200 restaurants in Waco now, which, 10 years ago, that was not the case. Yep. It was not the thriving and vibrant place. So please pass on our thanks to Chip and Joanne and your staff and your peers for a part of that, because it's a great thing.
I'll just say also, my daughter graduates from Baylor tomorrow, so we'll be driving down.
Congratulations.
So, and she actually lives, is like 3 blocks from that whole corridor of the Magnolia complex and everything. And you talk about transformation, it's also a transformation of the real estate down there in downtown. They have transformed that whole downtown area corridor. Absolutely. It's beautiful. It's a great tourist area and everything. And just from a real estate perspective, it's fascinating.
Yep, you're right. It is still happening. The transformation within in and around downtown, you can see that's still happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Brian, you want to go ahead and ask your question?
Yeah, I was just saying. So, do these steps change? You had some great identifications there with different steps, but does it change depending on the type of industry, or do you feel like those things you outlined go across any industry whether it be automotive or aviation or retail or anything like that?
Yeah, a great question, Brian. In fact, I would say, Brian, you can probably answer that question much better than I would. You also have such a vast experience in the industry. But I think both of us will agree that you can apply this anywhere, right? Customers are customers. You're always serving a customer somewhere. If the customer's expectations change, you have to change with the customer's expectations too. You cannot sit there and say, hey, I'm going to do one thing and one thing only, and you're going to buy that. I'll give you a big example, right? Abercrombie and Fitch. If you have noticed, or if you have even remotely followed their trajectory, they were once the darling of apparel, but they only tended to serve a very single segment of the population. Worked great because that population, the teens, preteens, had a lot of appetite for the kind of clothes they were building. But then came a curve that went south. Why did that happen? Because the customer's expectations changed. Those who grew up with the Abercrombie brand were no longer teens, but were loyal to the brand. So their expectations as they moved up changed, but Abercrombie continued to say, we're going to serve one purpose. So when in 2017, I believe, when Fran Horowitz took over as the CEO, the first thing she did was listen to the customer, listen to what they want, listen to what they get, right? That changed. So does it apply everywhere? I'm sure that it does apply everywhere. You were giving the example of Ditch Witch at one point in time. They could sit on their laurels and say, you know what, people are coming to us and buying our stuff, so why should we do anything different? But are they going out to the field and saying, hey, we are the number one in what we manufacture and provide? Can we make it better? Is there something in my equipment that can make the driver of my equipment feel that they can do their job easily if maybe the gear was on the left side instead of the right side, right? So I do believe, personally, I believe that you can use these drivers and you can apply across industry, just like as you can do with technology, right? Technology is agnostic. You can use the same technology in any industry and still make it work. I hope that answers fine.
Shankar, do you want to ask Shravan's question?
Are you on mute?
Shankar, you're on mute.
For some reason, it was very slow. I'm very sorry. I started asking questions without even realizing I was on mute. So, a question from Vineet. Sorry, it's a question from Shravan to Vineet. How you differentiate asking AI for recommendations and human interventions in brainstorming all recommendations to take decisions? Like, he's saying that's the key. How effectively we utilize AI, right? Like then you mentioned about human interventions in case of data analytics. So he's asking question related to the AI for using for recommendation.
Yeah. So here's a tact I use. I would say test and stress test the AI tool that you're using. Right? What does that mean? Some of us are so used to ChatGPT, OpenAI. Some of us use cloud. Some of us use Copilot. It doesn't matter what it is. Just stress test out of it. And what I normally do is I take one question and ask all three platforms the same question and see what kind of answers I'm getting. I also, to the same platform, I ask the question in a different way and see what I'm getting. Give some time and ask the same question again and see what answer you get. Then you get a sense of, okay, am I headed in the right direction? Am I getting what I'm looking for? And as a result of which, can I make some informed? Can I understand that a little bit better than what it is, right? So when I think about it. That's not all, right? There's still this doubt in my mind. Is that answer still right? That's when, number one, experience comes in handy. Number two is the network, like AITP comes in handy, right? And then say, hey guys, this is what I'm faced with. This is what the direction I'm getting. And what do you all think, right? So then a collective experience that comes about, I think, will lead to a better thing. That's the human in the loop. Now, can we get rid of human in the loop? I don't know that. I honestly, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know if the answer to that question. Will AI become very sophisticated over the next few years? Pretty much, I'm sure it will. But do we allow it to take over our tasks and make the decisions for us? That I'm not so sure about.
I think you make a great point. By the way, there's also Grok now, which is really making a lot of headway. Elon Musk's AI engine, and Grok is, as a part of this, it's kind of that trust but verify, right? So I think when you say get multiple answers, and I think that's very helpful because even in a lot of things that I do in research, it's still not that accurate in certain situations, and it's drying, and it will eventually, pull the right accurate information. But there are certain situations where you need to trust and but verify, to get that accurate option there. One of the things you mentioned is, you're talking about digital transformation, which I love your use cases there that you talked about, because I kind of think back about, companies that have come and gone, right? That did not transform, and maybe they stayed analog instead of digital. I don't know, but things like
something like a Motorola. Are you referring to Motorola?
Yeah. Motorola, Blockbuster.
Well, we had Blockbuster right here in Dallas.
Yeah, right. So there's a few that have come and gone. Sears, Radio Shack. Let's just go down the list, right?
Yep.
And so you bring about some great insight there.
Thank
you.
For the time check, there is another question from Syed Abbas. He says, very insightful session, Vineet. It's not the size of transformation, but the results that it yields, which matters. He's asking about how big a transformation should be, or the result of the transformation, which matters the most, is what is his question.
It's the result, right? So that's what I said. So, I'll give you the example of a baby, right? When a baby takes the first step, that's a big milestone for the baby, right? From there, the baby's on its own, right? So that one step is huge, right? But then when you look at SpaceX, the mission has always been to take man to Mars. That's the mission. But look at the step-by-step approach they're taking. So that's transformational. For someone to take, and even the new technologies they're using, where you have the return to point A. I'm sorry, I'm butchering the way it works. But what comes back to the same spot from where it was launched, that's phenomenal. That's going to be revolutionary, right? So that's, I think, ultimately it's the size, it's the size of the outcome, not really the size of the transformation itself.
Yeah, I agree. Goal matters the most than the journey. In this case, yes.
Absolutely, guys. So we're wrapping up here on time. Vineet, thanks very much for an excellent presentation and a wonderful Q&A session. If you'd like to hang out, we're just going to share some details about our upcoming in-person events, and hopefully we'll see you if you're in town for them. So the first one that I want to talk about is a gold sponsor, and that's Elevate IT. That's going to be here in Dallas on June 5th. And then they're also in September 17th. So if you're a member, look forward to the code, and you'll get that code via membership communication to go to that for free. I don't know if Akshay is going to talk about it, but Akshay, you want to talk a little bit about the happy hour on May 21st?
Yeah, Mike. So as per our AITP's networking event, we will be doing our monthly a happy hour next week, which is May 21st at Boomer Jacks in Grapevine. So members, you're cordially invited. And if you're not a member, please join our chapter, and you'll be able to meet some cool IT leaders during our event.
Absolutely. The last time we got together last month, we did it at my property, and we had some fascinating conversations. We had 7 CXOs there. It was a phenomenal get together. Joe, are there any of the topics that you would highlight as the most important one that we discussed?
Oh, wow. Talked about the implications of AI. We talked about the implications of AI measuring human behavior and human dynamics.
Yeah.
Which was pretty exciting, and lots of different opinions and views about whether that was even possible.
Absolutely. So these the conversations that happen at these things are probably some of the most important and thoughtful things. I learned things from both Joe and Andy Ivey that I hadn't even considered about how to use AI. So it's a really cool environment to just try on some ideas, learn some ideas, get to know some people, and build some relationships. So that'll be Wednesday, May 21st at Boomer Jackson Grapevine. And then next month will be June 25th, which is the 4th Wednesday, as always, our happy hours. We'll be back at the Holy Grail again. So Shankar, you want to talk a little bit about the last time we were there?
Sure. So yeah, it's going to be in June. So like still in early stages. Once we are done with this month, we'll start planning for June happy hours. Yes, it's going to be. We haven't finalized it, but I'll update soon. But it's mostly going to be the same Holy Grail for June. Yeah. So
Very good.
stay
Very
tuned.
good. Yeah, no worries. So we are right up on the hour. I don't see the timer for whatever reason, but we're getting pretty close to it. I do want to thank some of our marketing partners. Emily Bell-Wooten actually provides just some marketing coverage to expand our reach into the marketplace. If you're looking for consulting, fractional CMO kind of things, you can get a hold of her at this phone number. Another guy that helps us with that kind of activity is Brian from Job Seeker Pro. If you go to jobseekerpro/AITP, there's a special pack of information for job seekers that he provides. And he's just a great guy to follow on LinkedIn. I'd highly recommend it. Just good ideas on keeping yourself fresh and motivated as you're sludging through the job seeking situation. Vineet, really want to thank you again for coming out this month at our chapter meeting. And I want to show that we are going to actually take the summer off. We have been noticing over the last couple of years that summertime is just not a good time to get together. People are on vacations. We are all on vacations from time to time. So getting us all together is difficult as well. During that time, we're going to be working on getting our membership website updated and out for everybody. We'll have access for members then when that membership site hits for our member only things. And we'll begin doing direct communications via email and text, depending on what you prefer via that platform. So Shankar's leading the call in that regard. So looking forward to seeing that. I want to thank Vineet again, Akshay, Joe, Shankar, Brian, and Harish, who was here earlier as he was driving down to Houston. Thanks, guys, for everything. Look forward to seeing you soon, and keep your powder dry. Love and peace. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Good night.